just need you to say one prayer for yourself, because you know what I've realized about God is that every time God exposes you to something, it is because He wants to bring you to a new dimension of you in Him. Every time He exposes you to something, God doesn't do it because He just wants to do it. And the prayer I need you to pray for yourself this evening is that God will help you to take the best out of this series that we have been taking. That the Lord will help you to take the best and to apply out of this series that we have been taking. Like we established in the first series, God wants the best for you, but God cannot help you to do it. That the Lord will give you the grace to take the best and apply it out of the series in the mighty name of Jesus. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Thank you very much, priesthood. Awesome time in God's presence. Let us be seated in His presence. You know, I was sharing with a pastor friend of mine earlier today, and we were discussing on, you know, the dream carrier, the dream giver, the dream killer, and the dream maker. We have the dream giver, which is God. We have the dream carrier, you. And then we have the dream killers. And then we have the dream makers. But in the context of this four, God will only give you the dream. He has given you the enablement for that dream to be actualized in the dream makers. But it is left to you to do the necessary work that you need to do to get to where you are going. I don't know why I'm saying this, but it's important for someone in the house. So that all that we discuss, all that we say, will not just be knowledge that will end on the pages of your book, but it will be knowledge that will leap out and you will apply in your life. Application is key in anything we are doing. Application is key. I was listening to one real estate mogul this evening, and he established something. He was holding a book, and he said the difficult part is not in having the dream, but is in getting the knowledge as to how to achieve the dream. And most time, this knowledge, they are hidden in books. They are hidden in trainings, in seminars, in conferences. They are hidden in mentors. He said, but the challenge of people is that they will not pick up the book. They will not attend the training. They will not find the mentor. And so it's difficult for them to actualize their dream. So those who are actualizing their dream, it's not as if they are special or the sun of God is shining on their own side of the universe. No. He said, I will cause the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. So it is equal for everybody. But it is important that you have the knowledge and the application for things to work. So this evening, we will continue our series of the School of Prosperity. And this evening, we'll be talking about money management. Money management. You know, when you hear the word, I always tell people, don't have the definition of the management that Nigeria has helped us to understand. You know the definition of the management that Nigeria has helped us to understand. Let this money not finish. That is our definition. Let me be managing the money so that the money will not finish. You know, some of us, when we get 100,000, we be pinching it small, so that the money will not finish before another one will come. But that is actually not the definition of management. Management means ability to have control over something. That is what management means. Ability to have control over something. So what we are simply trying to say in essence is that you need the ability for you to have control over money. You know, there is one of those saying, they said, if you cannot control money, money is like birds. It will take wings and it will fly away. But when you have the capacity, the ability to control it, the money stays with you. So what are our objectives this morning? Slide 2. The first objective is understanding money and its essence. Understanding money and its essence. And the second objective is for us to understand the 4 pillars of money, which is assets, debts, income, and expenses. I'm sure some of us, we are familiar with all this term. We know all this terminology, but is how they apply to our life is what we just need to understand in this context. Then the last one, we look at a simple money chart that everyone can apply. Next slide, please. And the scripture I've picked for this evening is Ecclesiastes 7:12. It said, for wisdom is a defense, and money too is a defense. Wisdom is a defense. Money too is a defense. He said, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. You know, money is a defense. Knowledge, wisdom is a defense. But what makes it fantastic is the ability for you to use the two of them to achieve your goal in life. That is what that scripture is simply saying. I just want to ask a question in the next slide, which is a very simple question. A question in the next slide. What is money to you? 3 to 5 people. What is money to you? Because we hear at the time, money. We use money, we spend money, we make money. But have you taken time to ask yourself or try to define money? I'm not asking for the economic definition of money from secondary school or from university. You know, where we say it is a legal tender and all those things. We all know that. That's not what I'm asking. But what I'm asking right now is your own understanding. When you have money, what is money to you? Oh yeah? Eh?
To me, it's a means of exchange. If I want something, let's say I want a dress. If I have money for that dress, I can exchange.
She said it's a means of exchange. If I want to buy a dress, I have money, I buy the dress. I collect the dress. Any other definition?
Praise the Lord. So I think that money is whatever you give to get things done.
Whatever you give to get things done. Awesome. What's your definition, so? Do we have any? Yeah. Don't worry. People have not gotten there yet. Now, if we look at that definition that we've just given, look at the definition of Pastor Akin. He said, whatever you give to get things done. She said, what I exchange to get my need, that is the clothes. You know, because I always say this to people. Your definition of something is very important. If you don't have the right definition, application may be abused. So that's why most time it is important that we have the etymology of that word, the root meaning of that word. What does it mean? Why was it created? Why did they create it? You understand me? Because if you understand why it was created and why they created it, you begin to understand some things that it looks as if you know it, but you don't know it. Now, let's go a bit back into what money is before we look at that next slide. Money. Before now, we used to have people that have plantations. In the Western world, they have plantations. Means that they are farmers, they have vast land, And so in the farm, they buy slave. And the way they buy slave, they don't use money to buy slave in those early days. They buy slave using trade by barter. Me, for example, if I have tubers of yam and I need slave in my farm, I give those who have gone to capture the slave, mostly the government of a nation, I give them tubers of yam. They give me slaves. And the slaves come to work in my plantation. So when the slaves are working in my plantation, let's say, for example, in my plantation, we have Alfred plantation. On that Alfred plantation, I will have a seal, like a stamp, that I will put on all my slaves. And that stamp will be at the entrance of that plantation. The reason is because, those slaves, they don't speak English. So when any of them escape from that plantation and the sheriff catches up with them, they can bring them to that plantation by just looking at the sign on the plantation. They can tell the plantation where that person is coming from. Then when civilization started creeping in and, slavery was being abolished, the rich started thinking, because we have some set of people, we call them the noble class. You understand me? We call them the bourgeois. The bourgeois are the conservative millionaires. There are few of them in those days. So the rich looked at it and said, how do we keep these people as slaves? Because now they will have the understanding that they are free to go. How do we keep them as slaves? So they introduced what we call wages. And they started making coin in exchange for their time. That was how money came into being. And then so what they did is that they now know that this man is a free slave. I can't hold him bound again. So if he works for me, if I need to pay him 10 pounds, I pay him the 10 pounds. So when they pay you the 10 pounds, they needed to create things that you need to spend those 10 pounds on, so that the money come back to them. And for those who probably feel, I have the skill of a farmer. I got a piece of land. Let me start doing or planting the things that I eat and make my clothes through wools and all those things. That's the reason why they created banks. So that when you get the money from them, you can put it in their banks. I don't know if you are getting my point. So it is one of the amazing secrets of the rich. They want a situation that at every given point in time, the money remain in their custody. So they don't define money as something they give out to get what they want. They define money as a tool. Next slide, please. Money for them is a tool. Before this slide, next slide. I need us to ponder on that. Money is only a tool. It will take you wherever you wish, but it would not replace you as the driver. That's what money is. It is a tool. It is not the driver. Money is just an instrument. So you need to begin to see that money as an instrument. When the rich, when they look at the average or the middle class or the lower class, what they see is that these people are they have the custody of the instrument that I need. So that's why they created those banks or those financial institutions, so that you bring your money to them for keep. They use the money, multiply it, and keep your money back there. I don't know if you understand me. So it's a process for them keeping the money at every given point in time. Maybe next week Wednesday we'll understand that a bit better. But the first thing you must know is that money is a tool. It is like any instrument in your hand. For example, if you have a notepad, you don't have a pen. You are missing a tool, and the pen is the tool. The same way, money is a tool, and that tool will not become your driver. You can have 100 million and not be able to do anything with it. You can earn 100 million and not achieve anything with it. Next slide, please. So, money is a tool. You must know how to control it. It is the control that matters. You know, when we get to primary school, what the teachers take efforts to do is to teach us how to use pencil. You know, the purpose why they are teaching us how to use pencil in our primary school is because they know that you are still trying to steady your hand. But the moment you leave a particular class, they introduce pen to you. Because at that moment when they introduce pen, they believe you should have gotten a level of accuracy of how to use the pen in such a way that your mistakes are minimal. So the same way, you must see money as a tool that you need to have control over. Now, the control I'm talking about, I'm not saying the control of not wanting to spend it, but the control of how to use it. Or else, you will work very hard for it every day. And that's what most of us are doing. Every single day, we work very hard for money. It is because we don't have control over it. I am sorry to say this, with all due respect, of which I still fall part of the class also, and of which that is the class I've been trying to move away from in the last 7 to 10 years. You understand me? If you wake up every morning and you work for 31 days to earn a salary, you still don't have control over money. That's why you are working hard for that money. Those who work for 31 days to earn a wages, we call them modern slave. We call them modern slave. That is their terminology. When the rich look at you, they call them modern slave. That's the reason why, take financial institution for example, they give you target, they give you job description, they tell you what you are supposed to do. They tell you when you wake up, they tell you when you sleep, they tell you when you go on break. It's intentional. Why? Because they want you to work hard for the money while they sit down and the money comes to them. And they pay you what? The wages that they feel you deserve. And they determine when they want you out of the job. You understand me? Even when you feel, I quitted the job because they are not treating me fine. Don't forget, you are going to another one that also belongs to another person. And that one that you thought I walked away from. How many of us have seen some of those companies, even after you walk away, the company is still doing well? Because your position is just a position. Anybody can fit into it. So it is important to effectively control money. You must understand the 4 pillars of money and how they work. Next slide, please. You must understand the 4 pillars of money and how they work. The first thing you must understand is asset. There is nothing you want to tell those in the upper class. The only language they understand is asset. There is no how beautiful or how hardworking you are in an organization. If the organization is not making money, they will let you go. You understand me? Because the only thing in their head is asset. Asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. And so that is the focus for them when it comes to money. It must put money back in my pocket. So when they see money as a tool that they need to send out to bring more money into their pocket. That's why you don't see them use terminologies. You know, when they wrote books like those, economics book that they call it in secondary school, when they say money is a legal tender, is a medium of exchange, you understand it? That is what they want you to believe. It's a reality that they want you to live in. Oh, if I have money, I'm supposed to use money to exchange it for the things that I want. That is not how they see money. 95% of the rich and successful, they don't buy anything with their own money. They buy everything they use with your money and my money. They don't use their money. That's why it's easier for them. They can put 100 million in an account and they won't touch the 100 million and they will still go to the bank and borrow 20 million. Knowing fully well that that 20 million that they are borrowing, they put it in something that every month they are paying back the money. They are not even having a feeling of whether the money is being paid back. And don't forget, some of them are the owner of those financial institutions. That's why they say financial institutions, they print their own money. You don't go to a bank and see where they have 300 trillion in one place. Have you entered into a bank and they will tell you, please hold on for a minute when you want to collect money? Yes. The reason is because they are probably waiting for somebody to bring in money so that they can pay you that money. Because that's the way it works. They don't use their own money for anything. The money that they are supposed to spend as the bank is kept in the reserve in CBN. For security, just in case, if they mess up with your money, they can return that money to the people. But I've never heard of a bank that closed up and they started returning money to everybody. I've never heard of such business too. Because for them, it's a long story. We'll get to that some other time. So the first thing you must understand is it's an asset. Asset puts money in your pocket, and that's what should be ringing in your head. What can be putting money in my pocket? What can be putting money in my pocket? I used to say this: if you are not making money while you are sleeping, you have a long way to go. As you are sitting down, be thinking, what can I be doing that can be making me money while I am sleeping? Once I'm in bed, the money is coming. How many of us use Facebook or Instagram? How many of us do sponsored posts on Instagram? How many of us have been blocked by Facebook without discussion? Even when you are spending your money, he still block you out of his page. You understand me? Why? Because he's created a machine that is making money for him while he's sleeping. In fact, if you go online, type online and say, billionaires that are making money while they are sleeping. Or type Bill Gates. How much does Bill Gates make while he's sleeping? How much does Mark Zuckerberg make while he's sleeping? They will tell you it's all there. Because their focus is asset. Then the second one is debt. Debt is anything that takes money from your pocket. The moment, like she said, if I buy a dress, in the eyes of the rich, is debt. We'll get there. If I buy a car, for me and you, I don't arrive. For rich people, it's debt. It's a bad decision. To the extent that even these days, they preach to us, buy your house, live in your own house. If you buy your house and you live in your own house, you are buying debt. It's an understanding that we must have. We'll get there. Then the next one is income. Income, it is the money you earn. Now, these four things, they are very important. You will understand shortly. Expenses, it is the money you spend. So you must understand these four things and use them as tools. Next slide, please. And that's where we are going. Income is a tool for creating assets. That is the money that I am making. If I'm making 200,000 every month, it is meant to be a tool for creating assets. That is why if you have read books like The Richest Man in Babylon, or if you have read books of people like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the likes of all those kind of books and all those things, you will see where they will tell you that 1/10 of all that you earn is yours to keep. That person is not talking about tithes in that place. So Any money you earn, you are supposed to pay yourself first before you pay everybody. Because the truth is that every time you earn money, you pay everybody, but you don't pay yourself. And that's why you have to go back again to work hard, to earn again, and then pay everybody. Who are the everybody? You pay your landlord, you pay your fashion designer, you pay your hairstylist, you pay your barber, you pay your transportation. You are paying everybody, but the only person that you are not paying is yourself. So your income is supposed to be a tool for generating assets. Now, expenses is a tool for creating debt. Each time you spend money, if you're a good money spender, you are helping yourself to accumulate debt. We will understand shortly. Now, look at that next phrase. Once your income is less than your expenses, you are automatically in debt. That is, if, for example, you are earning 200,000 and every month you are spending 300,000, the 100,000 on it, you are borrowing it from somewhere. Nobody is giving you as a gift every month. It's coming from somewhere. So if your income is less than your expenses, you are automatically in debt. And the funny thing is that 90% of average people, most of the time, our expenses, our income is always less than our expenses. And we augment it with prayer. God will provide. God will help. God will support. You will see we live in a society where you realize that somebody who is earning less than 100,000 can be using a phone of 500,000 and is earning less than 100,000. And you see somebody walking about, some people look at you and they are like, wow, this person is walking about with serious money. Money for land in some areas. That's what the person is holding, And the beautiful thing, there is what we call the money game. And the money game is being played by the upper class all the time. The money game is simply that they create fantasies that can help you to spend the money. When they give you iPhone 9, iPhone 10, iPhone 11, iPhone 12, they paint the excitement so that for you it becomes an excitement. But the only reason why they are doing that is because they are playing the money game. They are using it as a tool to get the money away from you. And when you look at some of these new version of the old version, it's just one thing that they will change. They might just change the light, or they had one feature to it. You understand me? Because they know that human need are insatiable. You can't end. It doesn't have an end. That's why I tell people, if you understand these 4 things that we are going to establish here, you will not have problem again in life. So the first thing you must understand is that once your income is less than your expenses, you are in debt. So if you are in debt, it is because your income is less than your expenses. Then secondly, once your income is equal to your expenses, you are very lucky. You are not in debt, but you don't have anything to save. You are not in debt, but you don't have a dime kept to your name. It is also worse. Debt will give you sleepless night, but that other one will make you work tirelessly. You just realize that you keep working day in, day out, and you will adapt yourself with terminologies like Lagos is a struggle, Lagos is also. It's a lie. Lagos is only also and struggle to me and you. There are some people, it's just like when I was listening to one of Bishop Oyedepo's message early this morning. I ran into it on TikTok, and so I was listening to it. And he said, if he goes to preach in any church in the U.S., that he cannot add it to his CV. That he cannot, any church he will preach in the US, that he cannot add that church to his CV. He said, why? He said, when he has a church of 55,000 people, which church in US is up to 55,000 people? That will mess up his CV. I don't know if you understand me. You get my point? So it's important that you understand it. You cannot save because what you are earning is what you are spending. It's not as if saving is good, though. We are still coming there. Saving is bad, very bad, but we'll get there. But that is the starting point. Once your income is equal to your expenses, you don't have anything to save. Then the third one, at every given point in time, you must make sure that your income must be more than your expenses so that you can have a little to save. If you are talking to any financial consultant or investment consultant, the first thing they are interested in is, do you have your money system arranged in such a way that you have at least a penny to save? Because when you have a penny to save, there's every tendency that you can become a millionaire. You can become a billionaire as long as you have a little to save. But if you don't have any to save, that's where the problem is. Then if you are in debt, it's a serious problem. They will start giving you strategy of how to get out of debt and all blah, 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 all that. So now, you must have a little to stay because that is the starting point of your financial journey. So saving that we feel is a good thing is the starting point of your financial journey. That you know how to save or you are hardcore saver, it doesn't mean that you are going to be financially free. No. It is supposed to be the beginning of the journey to financial freedom. Because all you need is a little that can become that tool that you are going to use. And that's why we have a lot of people, they have saving culture. Even most financial institutions, they introduce saving culture to you. Financial institutions are upset. They are angry when you take your money out of their bank because they need the money to stay in their bank. Because the more the money stays in their bank, the better for them. They can give it to people who know how to utilize the money, multiply the money, take their own profit and give them a little profit, and they give you a tiny of it as interest rate, maybe every 3 months or every 6 months or every 9 months. And that same tiny one that they give, let's say they give you 0.1% of your money, then as maintenance fee, they take about 0.1% or whatever. You understand me? It is deliberate. It's intentional. Because for them, when you save, is a good thing for them. But it is a bad thing for you when you save. So saving is supposed to be the beginning journey, the starting journey. So when you get that saving culture, if you notice those who have saving culture, take your time to look at them. You realize that most of them, they save maybe from January. By December, the festive period, they use that money again for something that takes the money away from them. And then they start again in January. Or they use that money to acquire maybe a car. And then through the following new year, they start maintaining the car. You know when you buy the car, in those days they tell us it's an asset. You understand me? But with each passing day, as you use the car, you are feeding the car. You are feeding the car. So the car is taking money from you. So it's an expenses. And the same way, when you buy a house over your head, it is your house. But every day, the house is taking money from you for maintenance. It's taking money from you for maintenance. So it is not an asset. Maybe next week we'll look at what we call capital gain and cash flow. We average people, we focus on capital gain. The rich focus on cash flow. Capital gain is good. But the rich uses capital gain to dispose an asset that is not working again. If this thing is not working again, they use capital gain to dispose it. The rich don't buy a land and say, I want to keep it for 10 years so that I can appreciate. It's a mentality of a poor man. You buy a land in a forest and say, let me keep it for 10 years. By 10 years, it will be 15 million because I bought it 1 million. You have forgotten that when you bought it 1 million, the money was worth 1 million. 10 years after, that 1 million is already worth 15 million on its own. So it's not even the land. I don't know if you understand me. You have tied 1 million somewhere for 10 years. The money has not done any work. So what the rich do is that they acquire rental properties or they create rental properties. The rich don't go and cover money somewhere and say, let me leave it for 10 years. That's why Dangote didn't buy the space of land for Dangote refinery and say, let me leave it for 10 years. He's building a refinery that can generate money constantly. So they focus energy on cash flow. Whatever will bring money into their pocket, that's their focus. So you must be thinking like them. It is not advisable, say, I just want to, hey, they are selling land, let me go and buy land. Me too, I want to have a land. But you have tied money somewhere. It is better off for you, instead of using that 1 million or 2 million or 5 million to buy a piece of land and tie it somewhere. Go to inside places like inside Badagry. Inside Badagry. Go and buy a rundown bungalow or a rundown house or buy a piece of land and use that 2 million to build mini flats or even face me and face you and be collecting your money every month. Because in that place where you build it, there are people who will pay for that one-room apartment. It doesn't have to be in the city. So that's what they focus on. Whatever will generate money for them. So when you start your financial journey and you get to that place where you can have a little to save, that is where your financial journey is just starting. That is where your financial journey is just starting. Once you have a little to save, it is possible for you to create assets. As long as you have that little to save, creating of assets is not a difficult thing. We'll get to how you can start creating your asset. It's a journey. I always say this. For you to be rich, very, very rich, it takes minimum of 25 years. It takes minimum of 25 years. It's only in the agenda of the average people that we want to have it overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. There is no way it happens overnight. If it happens overnight, except you have gone to play Baba Ijebu, or you have gone to who want to be a millionaire, and you won millions from it. And after 6 months, when they look at you, the money is finished. But now the good question is, if you find yourself in that place where you are in debt, or you don't have anything to save, how do you get out of there? At that point, there are 3 things you must have understanding of and master very well. We're talking about money management. There are 3 things you must have understanding well and master very well. Number 1 is your income. Number 2 is your expenses. And number 3 is your passive income. Those 3 tools, you must master them effectively. If you know you find yourself in that place where you are in debt, or you find yourself in that place where you don't have anything to save, then you need to have understanding of these 3. Most of the time, every individual, we know how much we are making, but we don't know how much we are spending. It's a bad thing. You must have an understanding on how much you are making and have an understanding of how much you are spending every month. I'm not saying speculation. That is the money that goes out of you every month. You must have that understanding. The reason why you need to have that understanding is because so that you can eliminate unnecessary spending. There are some things we call unnecessary spending. For you to eliminate your unnecessary spending, you must have understanding of your expenses. So how do you have understanding of your expenses? It's not assumption. Either you are using notepad or you are using your electronic notepad. You start your day in the morning. If you take bike, 300, write it down, bike, 300. I gave Okada man. I bought Fanta, 200. I did this. It's funny. You know why it's funny? A lot of us, we don't want to do that. How many of us receive bank statement from banks? Do we receive bank statement from banks? You have not taken time to ask yourself, why do they go through the effort of over 10 million clients or customers that they have, and they send that bank statement judiciously to them every month? What's the reason? And what's the reason? Do we know? They want you to know how much you have deposited and how much you have collected from it back, which is a good reason. But that's not the reason why they are sending you those things. They are sending you those things so that you can read your financial life. You can read your money life. Understand how you are spending your money. Understand the loopholes that are collecting money from you, because they are concerned. They are more concerned about you saving the money than spending the money. So they are sending you those documents so that you can read between the lines. Say, every month I spend money on this Ashwebi. Why did I buy this Ashwebi, for heaven's sake? That's what they want you to have knowledge of. That's why they are sending it to you. So when you take your expenses daily, you are simply trying to read your financial statement. Until you get to that point where you are reading your financial statement, you are not going anywhere in a financial journey. Because you must have understanding of some loopholes that are collecting money from you. We have accountants in the house. If at the end of the month, they want to balance a book and they realize that 10 naira is missing. Sir, Pastor Tunde, can your MD give you 100 naira and say, use it and block that 10 naira? Why, sir? Do you know why? Your MD cannot say, if Pastor Tunde come and say, sir, this account is not balanced, so we are still looking for 10 naira. Accountants will look for that 10 naira until they find where that 10 naira enter. They will not close that account. Even you as the owner of the bank, you cannot bring 100 naira and say, Shebi is 10 naira, take 100 naira, use it and cover it. The reason is because the loophole may occur the next month. It may occur upper month. So they need to block that loophole to be sure that something is not just taking money away from us that we don't know. So the same way it is in your life. You must know what are the loopholes that are collecting money from me that I'm not so conscious of. We have plenty of them. And the only way you can know those things is when you have an understanding of your expenses every day. For the first day, you have the understanding of your expenses. When you want to start the following day, before you start, you look at your expenses and you look for what we call red flags. The things I spent money on that I shouldn't have spent money on. You understand me? It's important. So that by the time you do it for 30 days, by the time you do it for 3 months, by the time you do it for 6 months, you have an understanding of what you are spending every month. And you would have cut off some unnecessary spending, things that you are not supposed to put money in, that you are putting money in. Because you have to be financially intelligent for you to be able to make money. And that's where it starts from. So once you have understanding of your expenses, then you can use your expenses against your income. So if your income is less than your expenses, and you begin to cut off unnecessary spending. In financial intelligence, we don't say reduce your living standard. Because you can't reduce your living standard. You can only cut off unnecessary spending. When we say reduce your living standard, some will tell you, move away from 3-bedroom flat, go to 1-bedroom apartment. There's no problem. Go to 1-bedroom apartment. Living in 3-bedroom apartment and moving to 1-bedroom apartment may not be the loophole. The loophole may be the food that you are eating. So you have not gotten to the bottom of what is taking money away from you. So you must get to the bottom of what is taking money away from you. And the only way you can do that is to have understanding of your expenses. And then you cut off unnecessary spending. Then we look at this last slide. Once you have done that, we look at this last slide. It may not be clear, but I will try and explain it. Now, this is what we call money charts. This is the simplest form of money disbursement that every individual is supposed to apply in their lives. Now, once you make money, in the money world, we don't look at money in terms of the amount you are making. You look at it in terms of percentage. So, whatever amount you are making is 100%. So 50% of that 100%, that's the large pie. 50% of it is supposed to take care of your expenses. So if your expenses is beyond the 50%, there's a problem. That's why we go through struggle. So you must balance your expenses under that 50%. If you look at your expenses and you realize that it is more than 50%, it means that you have to increase your earning. That's why you realize that when the rich realize that, oh, my living standard is increasing, they increase the money they are earning. If they know that, oh, I need to buy a private jet to fly around, I need to buy a yacht for pleasure or to move around also, then I need to create businesses that can create that money for me. In fact, one of the laws in business management is that don't buy anything until it can pay for itself. So we don't say, oh, I want to buy chair because we feel we need chair. But that chair, can the chair directly or indirectly pay for itself? So the same way, if your expenses is more than that 50%, then you need to work harder to make more money. Or like they say, cut down your living standard. You know, even in the Western world, they will say, cut your credit card, cut your this, move from the house you are living, saying change your social status. You can't change your social status. You can't change an habit that is part of you just like that. What you need is to work harder and make more money so that you can balance this. Then for us as a believer, you have 10%. That's the smaller pie. That's the 10% tithe. That's the 10% tithe for us as a believers. Then we have this second pie. That's 20%. 20% we call it for contingency. Because at every given point in time, there are situations that will arise that you did not plan for. We call it contingency. So that 20% from your salary is supposed to be for those situations. Some people use that contingency for what they call charity. For example, if you are working in an organization, some people know that at the end of the month, from the 26th, you are supposed to receive salary. So that's when your younger sister or your younger brother or even your parent will send you a message. My children have not eaten for 3 days. I need food. You understand me? So when they say that, the money is supposed to come from that contingency. And you are not Jesus Christ. Once you have exhausted the 20% of your contingency, then the good Samaritan you are doing for that month is over until next month. That's why when you go to rich people and you ask them money, if you are not in their budget for that month, they plan you into their budget for next month. They don't just release money to you. You understand me? Because it is contingency. What they did not plan for, it just come. So they look into their contingency account and feel, okay, I still have money there. I can't give you 100,000. I can give you 10,000. I can give you 50,000. I'm driving my car on the road. It breaks down on the road. Where do I get the money from? Contingency. Then the remaining 20% is for investment. It's for investment. You remember what I said? If you have a little to save, that is the beginning of your financial journey. So the remaining 20% is for investment. And that investment means that you as an individual, every month, you are supposed to be doing an investment. I didn't say you are supposed to be saving. You're supposed to be investing every month. Because every time you save, the banks take something away from what you are saving. And every time you want to withdraw the money from the bank, you can't withdraw everything again. So there are some financial platforms that have been created in such a way that when you put your money there, if you leave your money with them for 1 week, they give you interest. There are some platforms like that. You can start shopping for it. I can't remember some offhand like this. But when you keep 10,000 naira there for 1 week, maybe they give you maybe 200 naira or 1,000 naira on it. When you keep it for 1 month, they give you additional and all those things. Because why? For them, they are using your money and they feel you deserve from the profit that they are making. You understand me? So every month is supposed to be an habit that you are saving. And that saving is not supposed to go to a saving account. It's supposed to go to an investment account. It means that as an individual, you must have an understanding of the investments that is available to you. You must have understanding of the investment that is available to you. There are several investments. You don't have to start by, I must get a land. Next week, we are going to look at it critically. We are going to look at the paper asset, real estate, and then business. Business is an investment. You understand me? I can decide to take my money and be putting it back into my business. Because I feel that if the business grows to a capacity, it can generate more money for me. Real estate before, we used to just see it like an asset. But the rich, in the last 55 years, they have turned it into an investment. They make money out of it. So they don't just buy it because they say, I just want to buy. They buy it because they want to make money out of it. And then we have the paper asset. We have hundreds of them. We have stock, we have T-bills, we have fixed deposit, we have mutual fund, we have insurance. All these things, they are all tools for making money. We call them investment vehicles. And those are places where your 20% every month can go to. So by next week, by the special grace of God, we're going to look at how you can plan your life if you are 30, if you're 35, if you're 45, if you're 50, what you need to start doing, the kind of investment that you're supposed to put your money in. Because the purpose of investment, the purpose of even creating wealth, the purpose of creating prosperity is so that at old age you can have comfort. You know, in our first class, I mentioned it. When you go to some organization or even on your street, you see some old men doing security. You need to ask yourself, why are they doing security at that age? Is it that they didn't work hard when they were younger? The truth is that they worked hard when they were younger also. They are like me and you. They are earning money. But because they didn't plan the 20% of their life that is supposed to be for investment, they forgot that at a certain age of their life, they will face what they call retirement. And when they face retirement, you look around, you are not seeing what the money, like our fathers those days, the money that they made, they spent it on us to send us to school. So when they are done, they have that perception that once they are out of school, you are supposed to come and take care of them. That's why even when they are asking you money, they will be asking you as if it is your right, if it is their right. You understand me? But for the children that we are having these days, I am sorry to say, some of them may not remember you in their old age. They may not remember you in the old age. Because for them, by the time they marry maybe foreigner, and they have configured their bed, why are you taking care of the old people? Even the ones that are not marrying foreigner. You understand me? They don't have reason why they should be taking care of you. So you have to plan for your old age. And the starting point is using this money chart. The money chart can be broken deeper than this. This is just a simple one for anyone that is starting. but it can be wider than this. Some people can break it down to those expenses. Some people can break it down to 1% for fashion, 1% for this, 1% for personal development. They are all expenses. You can break it down. Because you also need to add to yourself. I said it last time. The way you dress is an investment. The car you drive, it depends on how you see it. It's an investment also. You understand? I can decide to say, oh, I want to buy a Range Rover Sport. Not because I want to feel part of the status symbol, but because I want to access some people that ordinarily the small car will not access. But before you do that, you must be able to look at your investment plan. So by the special grace of God, next week we'll look at the investment plan. And God will help us in Jesus' name. Do we have any question? Do we have any question? So if there is no question, I want to believe that, okay.
Praise God. So you talked about debt. But I want to believe that we have good debt and bad debt. Because from what I know about the rich, they borrow money to fund their project and then they pay those debts back. So I don't know if you can throw more light on how to get to that.
Yes, by the special grace of God, we'll get there next week also. We have good debt, we have bad debt. But for this level now, what most of us face is bad debt. You understand me? Because if you must be able to use good debt, you must have a collateral for that good debt. Because there are some money that, like what you call good debt, for example, we have some platforms that gives you money with the punch of a button on your phone. We know that. And some of us, we collect those money for expenses. It's a bad debt. You get my point now. But when you collect money and you intentionally and strategically invest it in something that can bring you that money and will not put pressure on you on the paying back, that is what we refer to as good debt. You understand me? Take, for example, like I mentioned, the rich. When they want to create business now, say Dangote business, Dangote can have 10 billion to create that business. He won't touch the 10 billion. And he will walk to a bank and say, okay, bank, give me 100 million so that I can build this thing. So the bank looks at him and says, okay, we give you 100 million. We have your 10 million as a collateral and other businesses that you have built as a collateral. So they give him the 100 million. Monthly, maybe he's paying back 10 million naira. And the business that he has created already is bringing him, they say, 30 million every month. So he's not even feeling it when they are removing the 10 million. So for him, it's a good debt. They use good debt to create assets. I don't know if you understand me. So you must understand it from that context. But there's a level where you are. I don't always advise that you go into debt, especially when you are not so sure of the success of whatever you want to invest the money in, and you don't have a collateral that can be generating the returns of that money. You know, like for example, if you borrow from this large financial institution, you know, you can borrow money from their app also. Let's say like from Access, GT Bank, all those things. You borrow like, let's say, 100,000 and you are earning 150,000. They won't remove the 100,000 naira once. They might be removing it, say, 12,000 naira every month. So once your salary just come in, they remove 12,000 naira. So even when you look at it, 12,000, I beg. You are not bothered. And you can pay for a spread for like 6 months to 8 months. So even when they will finish it, you will not know. That is supposed to be a good debt. But what you did with that money at that moment is bad debt. Because that money is being collected from money that you work hard for, not from passive income. I don't know if you understand me. Is there any other question? If there's no question, then let's call it a day. Let's just say a word of prayer and say, God, help me. Because the truth, I have to be honest with you, it's good to say all this thing, but it's actually not an easy thing to do. You need the help of God. It is not an easy thing to do. You need the help of God. You need discipline. Say, God, help me. Give me discipline to be able to navigate and use this thing for the ultimate purpose of my life. It is something that you need for you to be able to utilize it. God, give me also the patience, because you need patience. It's not going to happen overnight. I keep repeating that. It's not going to happen overnight. If you trace the life of those who are successful, it didn't happen overnight for them. It took years for them to build what we are seeing right now. It took years for them to build what we are seeing right now. Say, God, give me grace and the enablement for me to be able to go through this.
Thank you, faithful Father. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen.